Sam Waterman. I'm the 9th District Intern, and welcome to another episode of Candidate Conversations. Today, I am lucky enough to be joined by Cindy Reinert. Cindy is a lifelong resident of Indiana and candidate for House District 58. Cindy earned her JD at IU School of Law at Indianapolis and ran her own law practice for years, focusing on family law, landlord-tenant law, and veteran representation, while also teaching at IUPUI. Beyond her career, Cindy is a committed community advocate, participating in veterans organizations, Petals of Joy, an organization that provides children access to bicycles, a volunteer for the Immigration Justice Campaign, and a member of If It Was Your Child, an environmental action group. As far as policy goes, Cindy is an advocate for improved public schools, veteran support, common sense healthcare, and the environment. Cindy, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I always like to start off by asking what inspired you to run for office.
Well, I have always been kind of an advocate for everything since the 70s and 80s. I marched in Washington for NARAL and Planned Parenthood and lots of different groups. After I closed my law practice, I moved to a third world country and I lived there for 12 years. And I think I got complacent. And I protested there as well, as far as protesting against companies who wanted to drill for oil on the reef, different things that were advocates like that. But I came back to the US and I realized how poorly Indiana had done with legislation and how bad the state had gotten as far as quality of life, environment, education. And so in 2018, I said, I can do this. And I ran for office in the same office in 2018. And I was running against a 30-year incumbent and I received 35% of the vote, which is more than anybody in this county has acquired in 25 years. So he retired and then handpicked his replacement, and I said, I can run too. I can do this again. So here I am. I just wanted things to be better in this state. We are so low on almost every issue you can possibly think of, and I want to make that better.
That's incredible. It's so inspiring to see people like you who have been advocating for a better world their whole lives and actually putting those values into practice by running for office and showing the resilience you have. So thank you for running. Thank you for doing what you do.
You're welcome.
And so my second question, I noticed that you discuss veterans a lot in your platform and you're very involved in veterans organizations in the community. What significance does that issue have for you?
Well, I'm a member of the VFW Auxiliary, and I also work there part-time a couple days a week. And so I've gotten to know these veterans. My uncle was killed in World War II, and I never met him. So I've gotten to know all these veterans, and I talk to them, and I understand the things that they're concerned about, and they're concerned about healthcare. They're concerned about medical marijuana. They're concerned about the number of veterans that are leaving the state of Indiana because we don't offer any incentives for either enlisted or veterans to stay here. And so, I think all of my issues sort of overlap each other because they're all about bettering the state. And a lot of the veterans are about that as well. And so, any of the other things that I advocate for, like education and environment, those things all serve to make the state better. And they overlap with the veterans issues. So, I can't really separate the things that I advocate for because, they're all about turning out a better populace, a better group of educated people to be in the state of Indiana. So, but yeah, they're a big inspiration.
That's incredible. I'm so glad that you take inspiration from that group of people and you're involved in the community and making this state a better place. So my third question, I wanted to ask about your experience in the legal world and how that's prepared you for public office.
Well, I think I know the structure of the court system. fairly well. And then I also know the structure of the government system, and the way that those two interact is important, because you can't, if you have legislation that's illegal or that is improper, then the legal system has to pick that up. Just an example is all of the voting issues that have come before the state, like it has to be in the ballot box by noon on election day. Well, the first court said, no, you can't do that. And then the appeals court said, yes, you can. So it's helped me in that regard, because I understand how the two interact and about how you can resolve some of the issues that are legislative.
Absolutely. I definitely think that's an important skill that a lot of our legislators need right now, especially with how the Republican administration across the country and nationally is manipulating the court system in a lot of ways. So it's
Yeah.
good to have people like you that can navigate that.
Yes.
So I just have one more question. What did your experience teaching an IUPUI teach you about higher education in Indiana, and what problems with higher education do you want to address in the State House?
I think I taught for 2 or 3 years after I started my law practice, and I found out that the students that I had, the very first assignment was go to a court hearing. It doesn't matter if it's traffic court, a murder trial, anything. Just go, write 1 page of what it was about, who is the judge, who is the plaintiff and defendant. And they were in shock. I mean, these are, 20-year-olds who were scared to death to go into a courtroom. And they all did it. And they all came back to me and said, I want to do that again. So it's the introducing people to the court system. I think that's important in higher education, because they don't know. They don't understand what goes on. And many times the judge or the prosecutor and the public defender would take them back in chambers and ask them, why they were there, and, explain to them what was going on. And so they need to feel like they're a part of the system. And I think the only way they can do that, you can learn about it all day long, but the only way they can actually learn about it is to actually go sit in a courtroom and listen to what goes on there. And it was just eye-opening for me. I had no idea they would come back, given how scared they were when they got the assignment, and say, we want to do that again. So I think those kinds of things, real life experiences, are very important for people that are in higher education. By the time I graduated from law school, I knew where all the courts were, who all the staff were, because I did an internship. And the people who were on the law review had never stepped inside a courtroom. So I think that's a big advantage to having people that go inside and check out what's going on, because otherwise it's just what they read in the paper.
Absolutely. I'm definitely on board with that. And at least in my experience, I'm a college student, and a lot of my peers feel very excluded from the legal world and or like the political world, and they don't often feel like they have a voice. And so having professors like you will obviously help them feel like they have a voice and they have a place in society. And so I'm grateful for people like you that are giving people like me those experiences.
Yes, you're welcome.
So those are all the questions that I have today, but it was so lovely having you here.
Thanks for asking me. It was great to be here.
Awesome. Well, tune in next time for the next episode of Candidate Conversations.